Paul Novak's ex-girlfriend Michelle LaFrance has spun a harrowing tale. How the New York City paramedic got rid of his ex-wife Catherine once and for all.
He was researching things on the internet. He was going to chloroform her, leave her, and then burn the house down around her, and she was going to die in the fire.
And Novak's alleged accomplice, Scott Sherwood, now backing up Michelle's story, word for word.
He said it's done.
Cops know it's time to have another heart-to-heart with Paul Novak, but Novak's not playing ball.
How long am I going to be here?
Sir, you're under arrest.
I was not aware of that. I'd like to speak to a lawyer, please.
And I'd be advised you will have every opportunity, okay?
In Novak's mind, Catherine's death was just an accident, but cops now believe it was a calculated murder.
We no longer question you about the homicide, okay? But you are under arrest.
It wasn't a homicide.
Yes, it is, sir.
Okay.
I think when you realize our purpose for being there, he availed himself as an attorney, so he never relayed his story to us.
Detectives play hardball, tugging at Novak's heartstrings.
And now you and I, Scott, have to sit down and figure out the why. Because at some point, your kids are going to ask it. Because if you don't explain that to them, they're never going to have that answer. They're going to spend the rest of their life searching for it.
Still, Novak won't budge.
I need a lawyer.
Okay.
But prosecutors are convinced they have enough to charge Paul Novak with first-degree murder for killing his ex-wife.
This is a person who had an ability to do things, horrible things, and have absolutely no conscience about that.
Leading up to the trial, Paul Novak refuses to talk to the cops, but he is telling his side of the story to reporters.
Did you kill your wife?
No, I did not. I actually found out that they found a body in the basement from my mother, and I said, "Do I need a lawyer?" He goes, "We like you. We know you didn't have anything to do with this, but the DA wants us to ask you some questions just to keep you in the clear and make everyone feel a lot better."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, "All right. I mean, I don't have anything to hide. You can ask me anything you want."
And in court, Novak points the finger right back at his former girlfriend, Michelle LaFrance, and the man claiming to be his partner in crime, Scott Sherwood.
At the trial, they tried to blame the murder on Michelle LaFrance and Scott Sherwood, but they had no motive to commit the murder, and the only person that collected around $800,000 as a result of Catherine's death was Paul Novak.
The prosecution claims all the evidence pointed at only one person, Paul Novak. There's a receipt from a nearby Walmart for a hat and duct tape, placing Paul in the area that morning, and a toll booth Easy Pass ping on the way back from Catherine's house shortly after the murder.
The evidence against Paul Novak was overwhelming once it all came to light, and all the pieces were put together.
Novak never testifies, but his defense does call his 13-year-old daughter to the stand. Hearts are breaking in the courtroom as the little girl tearfully defends her daddy.
The minute that she sat down, everybody just was ready to burst into tears because here she was trying to protect this guy, her daddy. I mean, the only parent left, and she refused to believe that he had done anything.
Journalist Nina Burley knew Catherine personally, and the daughter's testimony only paints a picture of the parent who was no longer there.
You know, I looked at her and I saw the little girl who had played with my boy with her long, big black hair, and all I could think about was how Catherine used to brush that hair and that little girl used to cry, as girls do, and how that mother loved that girl. It's just tragic.
The heartfelt testimony doesn't sway the jury. Paul Novak is found guilty of killing Catherine in cold blood.
The judge sentenced Paul Novak on the murder and the first-degree charge to the maximum sentence, which is life in prison without parole.
Scott Sherwood pleaded guilty with conspiracy to commit murder, but his cooperation gets him just a year and a half in jail.
Scott is remorseful.
100%. He was caught up in Paul Novak's plan. Paul manipulated him completely. He was so upset with himself and how bad he felt, especially for her kids, that he didn't do more.
And what about Michelle LaFrance, the one who blew the whistle on her ex-boyfriend? In a move that stuns many observers of the case, she walks out of the court scot-free, getting no jail time.
And at the end of the day, she gets to walk free. What do you think of that?
Paul Novak is behind bars for the rest of his life. and without her testimony would have been enough. Sometimes you have to choose between the greater evil and the lesser evil.
It's an evil that still haunts everyone left behind, and a little town that was a refuge to Catherine Novak.
I drove over just to say my goodbyes to her and look at the place, and it's sad. I mean, when you have seen a family living in a house with children, and then you come there and you see what's left is a garage and just wildflowers and grass where the house used to be, a little depression in the ground, and everything else just gone, vanished with a few years' time, and it was just so terribly sad.
Paul Novak appealed his conviction and was denied. Scott Sherwood served his time and is now out of prison. I'm Chris Hansen. If you like this story, make sure you tune in every day to Crime Watch Daily. You can find where the show airs in your city at crimewatchdaily.com. Watch it live or record it on your DVR and watch it at night. And to all those criminals out there, remember, we are watching.